New questions tonight. Is the government not telling you about dangerous products in your home?
Was the CPSC aware of the infant fatalities involving the Fisher-Price Rock and Play product before Consumer Reports published its data?
Absolutely, sir. We were aware of deaths since 2009.
32 infant deaths were tied to the product.
I think, frankly, we failed the American public on this one.
But those deaths only became public after the CPSC mistakenly released information to Consumer Reports.
Part of the problem, honestly, is Section 6B.
6B, a little-known statute critics charge, gives manufacturers control over negative information released by the CPSC. Crystal Ellis knows the debate all too well.
Wash the spider out.
Her son Camden died after a dresser tipped onto him 2 days before his second birthday.
I still can hear the sound of my husband screaming.
She had no idea at least 6 other kids had been killed by that same manufacturer's dresser, which was eventually recalled.
If you knew that other kids were dying from this dresser, would your son still be alive?
Absolutely. I would not have had that dresser in my home anymore. That was not giving me the power to make an educated decision. And it killed my son.
Before the CPSC can publicly release any information, the statute requires they provide a summary to each manufacturer, letting them submit comments. Those who defend the statute point out the Commission has the ability to shorten the comment period in the event of an imminent threat.
It's not a gag order. It is a moment's pause to make sure that what we're doing is fair and accurate.
If there is an appetite for change in a law, we can't change the law. Congress changes the law.
But current CPSC Commissioner Elliott Kaye says lives are on the line.
We're aware of dozens and dozens of products that are harmful and in American homes, putting people at risk, but we're not allowed to say anything because of the law.
If more people knew ahead of time that there's potential dangers in their homes that their government doesn't even think they have the right to know about, I think they would be angry. I'm still angry.
A growing debate that some say is putting kids in danger. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.